So you find yourself on the wig journey, whether you want to be or not, and you are wondering how to make the most out of your wigs. You'd like them to last as long as they possibly can, and you really don't want to have to purchase a ton of wigs or rebuy wigs over and over and over again. I'm going to give you a few tips, things to think about as you're selecting your wigs. We're going to demonstrate with a wig I've already reviewed once before, because I think she's a great example of not only a really beginner-friendly style, but one that should last much longer than some others that you might choose. My name is Denise. I'm also known as heywigsister on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm so grateful to 𝖺EEARki𝗂𝖺teЛ for sending me this wig so that I would have the opportunity to make this video. Now, I am going to combine a wig review and a tip video to make the most of your time. So even if the style that I'm showing today isn't exactly the right one for you, I think some of the tips I'm going to share in this video could help give you food for thought as you think about making good wig selections. And maybe you'll learn a little bit about a wig that right now you don't think is for you, but it might be in the future. I will just tell you how much we evolve on the wig journey, and I wear colors and styles today that I would have never imagined I'd be wearing when I started my journey 7 years ago. And I hear this from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fellow wig sisters. So never assume that where you are today is where you'll be tomorrow. You just might find you can wear colors and styles you never imagined. 𝖺EEARki𝗂𝖺teЛ is a wonderful partner of mine. They are both an online retailer. They also have in-person wig shops. They have a number of them in Canada currently, one in the United States in Kansas City, more to come. They carry all the major name brands. They do live sales every single week. They have great discounts, so much going on. I absolutely love them and recommend that you put them on your list for your next purchase. And I can save you some money as well. I'll put a coupon code in the description box below and a link to this piece. All right, let's talk about this wig. Her name is Like, or sometimes referred to as Like Monopart. This is a wig by Ellen Villa, and I have her in the color Sand Multi-Rooted. We will talk about this color toward the end of the video. I will timestamp all the major segments so you can skip ahead to whatever section you care about. So look for those timestamps in the description box below. First of all, I'm going to give you a 360 look, so I don't forget to do that before we start getting into the meat of this video. This is such a great beginner wig. I will also talk a little bit about that. You can see she's a little on the short side. Now, this wig is made with synthetic fibers, regular synthetic, not heat-friendly synthetic. And I will just say, in order of longevity, because this one of the main tip segment of this video is really about how to get the most out of your wigs. In order of longevity, the length of the life of your wigs, in general, human hair wigs are going to last longer than synthetic wigs, which will last longer than heat-friendly synthetic. But there are so very many factors that impact that it's really not a universal truth. So you might have heard that synthetic wigs like here, which is made with synthetic fibers, generally last anywhere from 3 to 4 months. I think that has been the general wisdom for some time now. I have to tell you that length matters. It's a huge factor in whether you're going to get 3 months out of your wig or whether you're going to be able to get a year out of your wig. A wig like that is shorter, that isn't going to be rubbing on your clothing. I wore this shirt specifically because the neck is higher on this one so that you could see it just grazes the collar. If this were a turtleneck, it would just barely graze the top of the shirt. And so these fibers are not getting any friction on them. And friction is what's really hard on synthetic wigs. Synthetic fibers do not respond well to friction, heat friendly especially. So the shorter the hair, the longer the life of your wig will be. And I have heard from so many of you who wear styles like this one and they get a year or more out of their wig with nearly daily wear. So definitely consider, as you're looking at wigs, if longevity is your primary priority, that shorter is better when it comes to that. And like definitely has that going on. In addition, this made with regular synthetic does not respond quite as negatively to friction as heat-friendly synthetic. So if it were longer and rubbing up on clothing, then you would get more life out of a regular synthetic than heat-friendly, provided you don't want to do any maintenance on the piece. So I'm not going to get into all the details of how to maintain, but know that heat-friendly fibers generally need heat taken to them to remain supple and soft and not frizz and fray if it's rubbing on your clothing. So I think the main takeaway here is like is such a great length for longevity because it's not getting all the friction. And I also mentioned, we'll take a look at this lace front. I also mentioned, which is excellent, you guys, _Villa does such a good job on their lace fronts. I just love their lace fronts. I think they're so realistic. Looks like it's growing out of your head. To me, it is worth the extra cost to purchase a wig with a cap feature like a lace front versus a basic cap unless you wear bangs, because it is so natural. So I'd also mentioned, you know, this is a great beginner wig, and I think it's also because of the length, there's not going to be any maintenance really to it, and it's relatively low density, which I'll talk about in a moment. So we have got this left mono part. It goes all the way to the crown. So it's a very natural part line. We have extended lace, ear to ear, very natural. You can tuck the hair, and since that lace is extended, you're not going to see any transition line between the lace and the ear tab. Soft ear tabs with bendable stays, extended nape. We've got Velcro adjusters. You can see I have these cinched way in. We'll talk about that in a moment, and open wefting throughout. So when you're new to wig wearing, especially if you've been losing your hair for a while, density on a wig really matters. Density meaning kind of the amount of hair that's on the wig. And this wig is generally considered a low density piece. Now, there's no standard to density in the wig world, so some of it's subjective. Somebody might think, you know, I might call a wig low density that you might call medium density based on your own personal preferences, what your hair used to be like before wigs. But in general, I would say _Villa is a brand known for lower density. Of course, they have exceptions, and little to no Permatease, which this one doesn't have any traditional Permatease. Permatease is crimpy fibers that kind of are right at the cap where the hair meets the cap. On wigs with a basic cap, a lot of them will have Permatease because it helps to hide that cap. On a wig like this with cap features, Permatease can hide the cap, the wefts in the back sometimes, but it can also help to give volume. So a wig with no Permatease like this is not full up on the top. It's really flat to the head. There isn't any volume or poof. And while you might find a wig like this feels like too much if you're brand new to wigs and you've been losing your hair for a long time, please take heart and know that it just takes your brain a little bit of time to get used to seeing yourself with more hair. So a wig like this is a great beginner wig, and it could take a little time to get used to seeing yourself in it, but it's really difficult to find a wig with lower density that's flatter to your head than this piece right here. And you can see if I were to tuck her behind my ears, that helps even more. So there's lots of things you can do to help as your brain is getting used to seeing yourself with more hair. This is a great low density, no Permatease piece for that. Now, I mentioned that you know, the adjusters were cinched quite a bit in on this one. This one is actually fitting me pretty true to average on my circumference. So _Villa is a brand known for running small. It's generally considered average petite. Great recommendation for those of us with a little bit of smaller head measurements. All of my measurements are in the description box below, and I am generally considered average petite. Where I think _Villa typically run smaller is more in the body of the cap. So over the ear to ear measurement, the front to nape measurement. And I don't get a ton of extra cap up in the crown. I am getting a little bit, like there is some cap here. So this is not fitting my measurements perfectly. I do think that circumference wise, this is running very true to average. I would say if you have average measurements, 22 inches, maybe even 20 up to 22 and a half on the top end, you might be able to wear this. There is stretch. It's not super stretchy, but there is stretch. And like I showed, it is cinched almost all the way in. So you can look at my measurements and know that you can be quite a bit bigger than me on your circumference. On your over the top of your head measurements, you can be bigger. I would say not maybe quite as much. It's really not running as average up here. So that's where I think it's running. So we're going to talk about color here, but I just want to sort of summarize. This is such a great little piece. I really like her. I think you can do quite a bit with this one. She doesn't have a ton of hair or a ton of volume, so you're not going to get big hair. But with these curls, and she has enough length that you can bring some of the layers forward. You can mess her up. She doesn't have a full bang, or she does have a bang, I should say. Just it's a little long. So if you wanted to wear this one with a full bang, you could just trim up these bangs. I have a video showing how to use a thinning razor. Bring the bangs forward, use that razor. You don't have to have skill. You don't even have to have a steady hand. I think you can wear her tucked. You can put a clip in her. If you can wear wigs of this length that are more kind of a little above chin length, this could be a great style. Let's talk about this color. Sand multi-rooted. Okay, so I didn't write down the codes, but I know Ellen Villa includes codes. Let me pull it off. We have got 24.14.12. That's the color codes that they used in this color. I have a blog post on my website where I talk about color, and in that blog post I have linked a color index. I call it the color index. It is basically a Word document with a bunch of tables, and it's got the color codes in it. So you can learn, what does a 24 even mean? What's a 14? On the scale, brunettes go from a 2 to a 12. Blondes start at a 14, and then they go up to about a 26. Then we get into some red starting at 27. So we've got a darker blonde as it's in the 14. We've got more of a kind of a medium, a goldenish blonde in the 24. And then we do have a low light of a light brown in the 12. And there is a root on this. They do not include the color code for the root. It's a kind of a medium root. I would say it's probably a 10, an 8 or a 10. It looks darker here because of all the studio lighting I have and because of the blonde. I would just say this is a very beautiful, kind of a cool blonde. It's not yellow blonde. It's not even really golden. It's definitely more on the ashy side of blonde, but I would say almost more neutral to ashy. And the reason I say that, and I know some of this is foreign to you guys, the more you get exposed to all these terms, the more you'll learn. Ashy blondes tend to look gray in some lighting. I do not think this looks gray in any lighting. So that's why I say it's more neutral to ashy. The more ashy, the more gray, and I'm not seeing gray in this one. It is really beautiful though, and I do, as I'm getting older, tend to gravitate more toward the more ashy colors, whether they're brunettes or blondes. I am liking more neutral to ashy. I just think it's a little more flattering as my aging skin changes, and so I'm really loving this color and this style. She's fabulous. If you have any questions, let me know. Hope this video helped as you think about your wig journey in general. And don't forget about 𝗏𝗎ki𝗂𝗋𝗁𝖺yi𝖾. They're really great, and I would love for you guys to show them some love by keeping them on your list for a future purchase. See you guys soon. Okay, here's this beautiful color. There you go. Hey friends, thanks so much for watching. Here are a few videos I think you might enjoy. Go ahead and click on one and watch.